Hi everyone, I'm Mary, one of your AAA module leaders. This video has been prepared to assist candidates on how to design an appropriate audit procedure. This is an important part of the audit process and typically an area that candidates struggle with. One of the questions most candidates have when it comes to designing an audit procedure is, where do I start? Before launching into designing an audit procedure, the following 3 questions need to be addressed so that the most appropriate procedure may be designed. Firstly, what is the risk of material misstatement that you have identified? Secondly, what is the key account at risk? Is it an account in the profit and loss statement, an account in the statement of financial position, or a financial statements disclosure item? It's important to distinguish between these as it will impact the third question, which is, what is the key assertion at risk? Once these 3 questions have been answered, we can design an audit procedure to specifically address the risk identified. Remember, to be a robust procedure, the procedure needs to outline nature, timing, and extent. It's very important to design your procedure specific to each client and detailed enough so that anyone will be able to perform the procedure without asking for any clarification on what they need to do. We often refer to this as the remote island test. We have designed a template and outlined the factors we've just discussed to assist you as a guide when designing an audit procedure. The template covers what is the risk, the key account at risk, the key assertion at risk, with a list of the 6 assertions relevant to the items in the profit and loss statement, which are the classes of transactions assertions, and the items in the balance sheet, which are account balance assertions. The template then has a section to design an audit procedure, taking into consideration the above factors. Now let's put the theory into practice. The scenario we'll use is from a previous AAA exam paper. The scenario is as follows. You're an audit senior assigned to the 30 June 20X3 year-end audit of Porsche Paints Limited. Porsche Paints manufactures a number of paint types. About 40% of sales are made to large chain stores, with the remainder to small retailers and tradespeople. During audit planning, the following risks of material misstatement were identified. Number 1, sales are often invoiced up to 1 week after the related inventory is shipped to the customer. And 2, finished goods inventory is at risk of spoilage due to poor warehouse facilities. The required is to design one substantive test of details to address each risk identified. So now let's answer the required. The first risk of material misstatement identified at Porsche Paints is as follows. Now let's use the template as a guide to design an audit procedure. So what is the risk here? At year-end, there is a risk that inventory shipped to customers has not been invoiced, potentially resulting in sales being recorded in the wrong period. What is the key account at risk here? This is not a trick question, it's sales. And the key assertion at risk? As the key account is sales, then the class of transactions assertions would be applicable here. So it can be any one of these 6 assertions. From the risk we have identified, the key assertion at risk would be cut-off. Now we're ready to design a procedure to address the risk identified. We've selected 3 candidate responses to this question, and we'll go through each one to determine whether it is a robust procedure. Candidate A provided the following procedure. Let's critique the procedure presented by candidate A. With respect to nature, will this procedure address the risk, key account, and assertion at risk? I would say yes, which is a good start. But what does the candidate mean by transactions? You cannot assume that the individual performing the procedure would understand what this means, or the marker in this instance. The candidate did not also outline the details exactly of which invoice. Remember, it needs to pass the remote island test. Note the source of the evidence in this procedure is based on internal documents such as sales invoices. Obtaining evidence from a more reliable source, like delivery dockets, would help the auditor with obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence over the cut-off assertion for sales. It is worth pointing out what's been done well here. With respect to timing, this has been addressed well. It states the last transactions in June and first transactions in July. And with respect to extent, once again, it has been addressed well. We know how many we need to test, the last 10 and the first 10. So although candidate A's procedure would be on track to be a robust procedure, as it currently stands, it isn't. Now let's take a look at candidate B's response. Candidate B provided the following procedure. So is this a robust procedure? From the outset, there is a concern with the first statement. Understand the terms of trade with suppliers. Remember that the key account at risk here is sales. Therefore, terms of trade with suppliers would be irrelevant. Once again, the candidate has not been specific in noting which invoices. With respect to timing, the candidate has stated invoices before and after year end, but they have not been specific enough to address the cut-off issue. For example, before year end could be a sale invoice back in February 2023. Would that address the risk regarding cut-off here? With respect to extent, the candidate has stated obtain a sample. This is acceptable when actual sample sizes have not been provided. It's therefore safe to say that candidate B's procedure is not a robust procedure. Let's take a look at the third candidate now, candidate C. Candidate C provided the following procedure. This procedure definitely addresses the risk identified here, and it is a robust procedure. This procedure does pass the remote island test, as we know exactly the timing, 3 days before and 3 days after year end, and we know the extent, select a sample, and we know exactly what to do, all the documents we need to refer to, sales invoices, delivery dockets, the sales ledger. As mentioned earlier, it's important to point out that obtaining audit evidence by checking sales invoices to delivery dockets is a more reliable source of evidence for this risk around the cutoff. So based on your knowledge now of what is a robust procedure, let's apply your understanding to the second risk identified at Porsche Paints, which is as follows. Let's design an audit procedure using the template as a guide. The risk here is that spoiled inventory may not be valued at the lower of cost and net realisable value, resulting in a risk of overstatement of inventory at year end. The key account at risk is inventory, and therefore when it comes to the key assertion at risk, it can be any one of the 6 account balance assertions. And in this instance, it would be accuracy, valuation, allocation. So we're now ready to design a procedure. Once again, we selected 3 candidate responses to this question and have presented them here for you to consider. So based on your knowledge of what is a robust procedure, which one of these would be a robust procedure and obtain full marks in an exam? Click pause, and when you have your answer, click play. So let's check your answer. If you selected candidate A, well done. Candidate B's procedure is not a procedure. Purely obtaining an expert is not a procedure. On the other hand, outlining what work will be performed as a result of the expert's work may be more applicable procedure, but this is not what is being shown here. Candidate C's procedure is on the way of being a robust procedure, but it's not there yet as it currently stands. Adding the following information would help here, as this addresses the risk which is concerned around the overstatement of inventory. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways. Before launching into designing a procedure, ensure you understand the risk the procedure needs to address. Design your procedure specific to each client scenario. Make sure the procedure can pass the remote island test, being detailed and specific enough as to nature, timing, and extent. And practice. There are many opportunities for you to practice designing a procedure in the worked examples and activities in the CSG. If you have any further questions regarding this video, please post them on the discussion board. Thank you for watching this video. And for any further guidance on designing audit procedures, you may wish to refer to Virtual Classroom Application Video 2. We wish you all the very best in your studies.